October 7, 2023, Hamas massacred Israelis in a bold sneak attack. October 9, 2023, Israel declared war on Hamas. None of the major news outlets understand the true cause of the fighting, or at least what Hamas says is the true cause of the fighting. That's them now checking in. Perfect timing. In 2022, Times of Israel posted an article titled, "Hamas Leader Threatens Israel Over Their Plans for the Temple Mount." Ismail Haniyeh is the political leader of the Hamas terrorists. Haniyeh said, "Sword of Jerusalem," that's a military campaign, "will protect the Temple Mount." Hamas launched rockets in retaliation for Israeli security forces entering the Aqsa Mosque after Palestinians threw stones and other objects at them. One article noted the compound, which sits atop the old city plateau, known to Muslims as Al-Haram al-Sharif, or the Noble Sanctuary, and to the Jews as the Temple Mount, is the most sensitive site in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The current war was started by Hamas in response to the arrival of red heifers to Israel. Now, these exceedingly rare animals are needed for one purpose: to be sacrificed so that their ashes can be used to purify utensils in a temple, the Jewish temple. And so in January 2024, a Hamas spokesman specifically identified the red heifers coming to Israel as proof that Israel would soon try to destroy the mosque and other Islamic buildings on the Temple Mount. And so they launched this strike against them, hoping to destroy Israel once and for all. And so obviously, there's a lot of things going on when it comes to Palestine and Israel and all of that. But a major thing that's going on is the control of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, because it's considered what? The holiest site in the world by Jews and by Muslims. And that talk has to come into place whenever you talk about what's going on in the Middle East. To ignore that is to ignore something that is huge. There has to be, and it could be, we used to speculate, and we still do, that, obviously, maybe the Jews don't have to blow up the Al-Aqsa complex, because the Antichrist will come and he will figure a way to work all of that out. And in fact, there are at least 3 other locations where the temple could be built based on scientific research and archaeology. But still, our point this morning is that the Temple Mount is always being mentioned by the locals who are involved in the war. Now, we find this more than interesting because a temple will exist in Jerusalem during the Great Tribulation. That's the prediction, that's the prophecy. A critical moment in the tribulation must happen in the holy place of a rebuilt temple. And so whatever's going on there, we know there will be a temple. Daniel prophesied about that temple in the 6th century BC. So 600 years before the coming of Christ, he said there would be a tribulation temple. Jesus acknowledged Daniel's prophecy in the 1st century AD. A lot of scholars and critics, they like to say, oh, Daniel wasn't written by Daniel. It wasn't written when it said it was written later. But then Jesus in the New Testament gave it credibility. He believed Daniel was written in the 6th century and that Daniel was a prophet. And so to deny Daniel is to deny Jesus. And both of them were sure that there would be a temple in the last days. So when we see these different things happening, we get excited on a prophetic level because it's God fulfilling his word. Now, as I tell you each week, it's important to remember in these difficult times in which we live in the church age. It began on the day of Pentecost, and it goes until the rapture and resurrection of the church that happens before the Great Tribulation. And so the Lord said he would come and return for the church, raising the dead in Christ. Anybody that was a believer from the day of Pentecost forward, who's in the ground or wherever their body happens to be, blown to smithereens, whatever, God's going to bring it together into a resurrection body. And then almost simultaneously, we who are alive and remain will be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, and we will receive our glorified eternal bodies. Jesus said concerning the Great Tribulation, I will keep you from the hour of trial, which will come upon the whole world to test those who dwell on the earth. We are not superior. or inferior to Israel or other earth dwellers. God has a certain plan for the church. He has a certain plan for Israel. He has a certain plan for Gentile nations. You see it all come together in the Revelation, chapters 21 and 22. But we are not going to be here for the Great Tribulation. A lot of people are reverting to a belief that we are. We'll talk about that a little bit this morning in our study. That event, the resurrection and rapture, is always presented as imminent, meaning there's nothing that needs to happen before it happens. There's no other sign. There's no other thing that needs to be fulfilled before Jesus can come for us. And so we best be ready. And if not, get ready, stay ready, and keep looking up, because ready or not, Jesus is coming.